Hey there, if you're a Nissan owner and you've got a little light that just popped up on your dashboard, well, you've come to the right place. Today, we're going to demystify the error code P2101. So, let's just jump right in.
Ah yes, it's that moment every driver just loves. The check engine light clicks on. You run a quick diagnostic and it spits out the code P2101. Sounds a bit technical, maybe even a little intimidating, but don't worry, we're about to break down exactly what your car is trying to tell you.
So what is it? Officially, P2101 means there's an electric throttle control performance issue. Now this is a pretty common code, especially if you're driving a Nissan with a V6 or a V8 engine. And yeah, that includes the hybrids too. It's basically pointing to a problem with how your car is handling its own speed and power.
To get to the bottom of this, we're going to follow a really clear path. First, we'll decode the warning and line up the usual suspects. Then we'll take a look at the wiring, the key control parts, and a super important warning for all you hybrid owners out there. And finally, we'll cover what you should do next.
All right, let's start our little investigation. When your car gives you a P2101 code, it's not pointing a finger at one single broken part. Instead, it's kind of giving us a police lineup of 4 main suspects that could be causing all the trouble.
And here they are. The issue could be something as simple as some bad wiring, or it could be a deeper problem with the throttle control motor circuit or the actuator. And, like I said, for those of you with a hybrid, that high-voltage battery system is also on our list. We're going to go through each and every one of them.
Okay, let's turn our attention to suspect number 1, which is, surprisingly often, the culprit. The wiring. You know, a lot of the time, the problem isn't some huge mechanical failure, but just the simple connections that tie everything together. So how do you check for this? Well, a technician is going to grab tools like a diagnostic scanner and a multimeter to test that wiring harness. They're on the hunt for loose connectors or maybe some wires that are frayed or damaged. If they find anything, that bad wiring has to be replaced. It's a safety thing, plain and simple. So, if the wiring gets a clean bill of health, we've got to move on to the next 2 suspects on our list. And these are the real heart of the throttle system itself, the motor circuit and the actuator.
First up is the throttle control motor circuit. You can think of this thing as the brain that's mixing the perfect cocktail for your engine. Its whole job is to control the blend of gasoline and air that goes into the cylinders. It's absolutely critical for good performance.
Now, if this circuit has a short or is just open, oh, you're gonna feel it when you drive. The most common signs are the engine stalling out of nowhere or misfiring, which feels kind of like a stutter or a hesitation when you're trying to accelerate.
Our third suspect is the electric throttle control actuator. So, while the circuit is busy mixing the fuel, this part is directly in charge of your car's speed. It's the muscle that physically opens and closes the throttle plate, depending on how hard you're pushing that gas pedal. And here is where things get a little tricky. The symptoms of a bad actuator, they're often the exact same as a bad circuit. Your car might stall or misfire. And this overlap is precisely why you need a professional diagnosis. It's almost impossible to tell them apart just from the driver's seat.
This slide really lays out the challenge perfectly. On the left, you've got the circuit, managing the air and fuel mix. On the right, the actuator, managing your speed. But look, both can cause stalling and misfiring, and for both, the solution is to inspect and replace. The key thing here is that you need the right tools to figure out which one is the real problem.
Okay, let's talk about our 4th and final suspect. This one is specifically for the hybrid models. And I need to be clear, this isn't just another part to check. It's a major safety warning that you absolutely cannot ignore.
Before anyone, and I mean anyone, even thinks about diagnosing or trying to repair a hybrid with a P2100 code, this has to be the #1 priority. We're talking about a high-voltage system here, and the safety rules are not optional.
This is a direct quote from the official service information, and it is non-negotiable. Before any work starts, the technician has to turn off the ignition and, this is the crucial part, remove the service plug from the trunk. This is what disconnects the high-voltage battery and keeps both the technician and the vehicle safe.
Okay, so we've met all the suspects, and we definitely understand the risks. Let's wrap all this up by mapping out a clear path forward for you to get from this diagnosis to the actual solution.
So let's do a quick recap of the fixes. If it's the harness or connectors, the solution is to check and replace that bad wiring. If it's the motor circuit or the actuator, a technician will need to inspect and replace the broken parts. And for a hybrid with a high-voltage system issue, the solution always starts with following the proper safety steps.
So if there's one thing you take away from all this, let it be this. While you're now armed with all this great information, fixing this problem is not really a simple DIY job. To get it right, you really need a qualified technician who has the right professional tools, like a high-end diagnostic scanner and a multimeter, to test everything properly and find the exact cause.
You know, that check engine light can feel pretty stressful, but knowledge is power, right? You're not in the dark anymore about code P2101. You know what could be wrong, you get the process, and now you're totally prepared to have a smart conversation with your mechanic. You're ready to get this thing fixed.